Hello, it's Willie from the Ozarks, and it is ready. We're ready for lesson May 29th's lesson, which is a continuation of reviews on, let's see, it's lesson 149 in A Course in Miracles workbook for students. My mind holds only what I think with God. When I am healed, I'm not healed alone. And heaven is the decision I must make. So before we get too far into that, let's talk briefly about yesterday's lesson, 148. My mind holds only what I think with God. If I defend myself, I am attacked. And sickness is a defense against the truth. So, I'm trying to really help myself and you to understand that we don't want to defend ourselves, because what that does, that implies that we're vulnerable and weak, and that's not what love is. Love is invulnerable. It's linked with everything and can't ever have an opposite. We're completely integrated and in harmony. But if we do go back and look at the lessons that we're reviewing, and I just want to point out a few things about those yesterday. If I defend myself, I am attacked. Defend the body. It starts off by saying the body is in need of no defense. Defend the body, and you've attacked the mind. Remember how I made mention that if you have a problem with the body, the mind is what is sick. So you can go up the stream, go backwards from the what you're experiencing in the body, and say, okay, now what thought, what feeling am I holding, and what thoughts are connected with those feelings that are in disharmony with the truth? Okay, these are the thoughts in need of healing, and the body will respond with health. So when we line up the mind again and have it think in the what the text had called the sphere of celestial order, or once we're in harmony with spirit and with God, we think the way God thinks and don't think the way God doesn't think, then the body will respond with health. These are the thoughts in need of healing, and the body will respond with health. A healed mind does not plan. If I defend myself, I am attacked. He talked a lot about how the healed mind does not plan. The mind engaged in planning does not think it will be provided for unless it makes its own provisions. And what could you... Oh, and I love this particular passage. I think it's in paragraph 19. What could you not accept if you but knew that everything that happens, all events, past, present, and to come, are gently planned by one whose only purpose is your good? Whose only purpose is your good. Well, we could accept anything if we had that attitude about all of our experiences and all of the things that are to happen to us. Let no defense but your present trust direct the future. Try not to shape this day as you believe would benefit you most, for you cannot conceive of all the happiness that comes to you without your planning. All the world will take this giant stride and celebrate your Easter time with you. So he called that a giant stride, that particular lesson yesterday that we're to review. If I defend myself, I am attacked. When you defend yourself, you're basically saying you're vulnerable. And we want to start recognizing that we're the Holy Son of God, the Holy Child of God, and that we can't be harmed. There's no way we can be harmed. Only in an illusion can we be harmed. In that delusion, we feel like we're separate from the truth and from God, from our reality. So we want to enter back into the real world by holding on to this particular thought that my mind holds only what I think with God. Well, one of those thoughts is, if I defend myself, I am attacked. Well, we don't want to see ourselves as attacked, because that's going to make us sick. And that's our next lesson review. Sickness is a defense against the truth. Sickness is not an accident. Like all defenses, it is an insane device for self-deception. Sickness is a decision. Sickness is a decision. It is not a thing that happens quite unsought. It is a choice you make, a plan you lay. And you do it when for an instant truth arises in your own deluded mind, and all the world appears to totter and prepare to fall. Now are you sick? And you decide you want to be sick rather than let the truth come. Now are you sick that truth may go away and threaten your establishments no more? Sickness keeps you from the truth by proving the body is not separate from you, and so you must be separate from the truth. If the body's vulnerable and sick, that proves that sickness is real, and so truth can't be true. But if truth is true, well, then maybe what's the illusion? And according to the Course, no maybe about it. The truth is that it's the body that's the illusion, and the sickness that the body might be appearing to have is the illusion. And like it said, not everyone's ready to accept the truth, and we can only be led as far as we're willing to let ourselves be led. But we're all going to eventually get there. Everything but this will fall away, he said. The body is healed because the source of sickness has been open to relief. If you let your mind harbor attack thoughts, yield to judgment, or make plans against uncertainties to come, you have misplaced yourself and made a bodily identification which will attack the body, for the mind is sick. So it's the sick mind which is what we want to begin to work with. We want to look at these thoughts that are not in harmony with God. If I defend myself, I am attacked. That was something that I wanted to bring our attention to again. But right now, sickness is a defense against the truth. I will accept the truth of what I am, and let my mind be wholly healed today. And back on our lesson, we were told, I have forgotten what I really am. This is if you give instant remedy. Back on lesson 136, give instant remedy should you be tempted to believe that pain is real and see a bodily identification that's attacking your mind and making you sick. Give instant remedy should this occur and say, I've forgotten what I really am, for I mistook my body for myself. Sickness is a defense against the truth. But I'm not a body, and my mind cannot attack, so I cannot be sick. So these are some ideas that we're going to work with, and hopefully they're beginning to make a little more sense. Yesterday's lesson, one of the things I did want to read, remember that was considered to be our Easter time. If I defend myself, I am attacked. But in defenselessness I will be strong, and I will learn what my defenses hide. And he said that was our Easter time, this recognition that we don't need to defend ourselves. This is my Easter time, and I would keep it holy. I will not defend myself, because the Son of God needs no defense against the truth of his reality. So these two ideas are what we practiced yesterday, and I hope they became a little more clear to you after that. The two 5+ minutes of meditation, and then your hourly remembering. So anyway, that was yesterday. And my mind holds only what I think with God. If I defend myself, I am attacked. And sickness is a defense against the truth. So let's go on for today's now. Before we do, though, I do want to show you this plant. Who knows what that is? It grows all, I'll bend it over here for you to see the whole thing. Take a look at that. It's pretty good size. I just pulled it up out of the ground. Smells wonderful. I think it smells good. Give that a minute to think about what that is. And let's go back and look at our text reading. I do want to read a couple of the miracle principles. Number 37, miracles are examples of right thinking. We started that one yesterday, and I said, scratch that. Miracles are examples of right thinking. Reality contact at all levels becomes strong and accurate, thus permitting correct delineation of intra and interpersonal boundaries. As a result, the doer's perceptions are aligned with truth, as God created it. 38. A miracle is a correction factor introduced into false thinking by me. By Jesus. It acts as a catalyst, shaking up erroneous perception and reorganizing it properly. This places man under the atonement principle where his perception is healed. Until this has occurred, revelation of the divine order is impossible. It's important to get this correction. 39. The spiritual eye is the mechanism of miracles because what it perceives is true. It perceives both the creations of God and the creations of man. Among the creations of man, it can also separate the true from the false by its ability to perceive totally rather than selectively. It thus becomes the proper instrument for reality testing, which always involves the necessary distinction between the false and the true. 40. The miracle dissolves error because the spiritual eye identifies error as false or unreal. This is the same as saying that by perceiving light, darkness automatically disappears. Darkness is lack of light, as sin is lack of love. It has no unique properties of its own. It is an example of the scarcity fallacy, from which only error can proceed. The scarcity fallacy, that there's not enough to go around. Truth is always abundant. Those who perceive and acknowledge that they have everything have no need for driven behavior of any kind. And we'll stop there, ready for 41 next time we pick that up. Okay, now, who knows what that is? That is, bees just love it. Probably one of the most sought after bee pastures that there is. Anyway, it's yellow sweet clover. Yellow sweet clover. It has a real sweet smell to it. And it's a biennial. But if you let it get to this point where bees like it, it's going to seed and the seeds fall on the ground and come back up. And so you'll always, if you have a pasture of this or a field of this, you'll end up, grows as a perennial in that sense because the seeds fall and just keep coming back. But anyway, yellow sweet clover. Know what it is? It looks just like white sweet clover, except on white sweet clover, the blooms are white. Okay? All right, let's go to lesson 149. Again, my mind holds only what I think with God. When I am healed, I'm not healed alone. Heaven is the decision I must make. When I am healed, I'm not healed alone. Heaven is the decision I must make. So let's go back and look at the actual lesson 137. When I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. Today's idea remains the central thought on which salvation rests. That's an important concept, isn't it? It is impossible that anyone be healed alone. Healing is our own decision to be one again and to accept ourself with all its parts intact and unassailed. Healing is accomplished as we see the body has no power to attack the universal oneness of God's Son. So oneness, the oneness of God's Son, when we realize that, the body will have no power to do anything, because the mind has realized that it's one with God and all our brothers. To be healed is merely to accept what always was the simple truth. Healing might be called a counter dream, which cancels out the dream of sickness in the name of truth, but not in truth itself. Just as forgiveness overlooks all sins that never were accomplished, healing but removes illusions that have not occurred. Healing, forgiveness, and the glad exchange of all the world of sorrow for a world where sadness cannot enter are the means the Holy Spirit urges you to follow Him. His gentle lessons teach you how easily salvation can be yours, how little practice you need undertake to let His laws replace the ones you made to hold yourself a prisoner to death. The Holy Spirit's life becomes your own as you extend the little help He asks in freeing you from everything that ever caused you pain. And as you let yourself be healed, you see all those around you, or who cross your mind, or whom you touch, or those who seem to have no contact with you, healed along with you. You're never healed alone. What is opposed to God does not exist, and who accepts it not within his mind becomes a haven where the weary can remain to rest. So we want to accept that what is opposed to God does not exist, and we become a haven for ourselves and everyone to rest in. Would you not offer welcome to God's will? Let our minds be healed that we may carry healing to the world, exchanging curse for blessing, pain for joy, and separation for the peace of God. And just a minute here, let me find my place. When I am healed, I'm not healed alone, and I would share my healing with the world, that sickness may be banished from the mind of God's one Son, who is my only self. Let healing be through you today as you rest in quiet. Be prepared to give as you receive the Word of God to take the place of all the foolish thoughts that ever were imagined. Now we come together to make well all that was and offer blessing where there was attack. Reminds me of that song, the Beatles, Come Together. And then the last in that lesson, when I'm healed, I'm not healed alone, and I would bless my brothers, for I would be healed with them as they are healed with me. And then our other lesson that we're to review today is heaven is the decision I must make. It starts off by saying, in this insanely complicated world, in this world, heaven is a choice because we believe there are alternatives to choose between. Choice is the obvious escape from what appears as opposites. Decision lets one of conflicting goals become the aim of effort and the expenditure of time, Without decision, time is but a waste, and effort dissipated. It is spent for nothing in return, and time goes by without results. There is no sense of gain, for nothing is accomplished and nothing learned. You need to be reminded that you think 1,000 choices are confronting you when there is really only one to make. He says we need to be reminded that we think there's lots of choice, but there's only one to make. And even this one but seems to be a choice. But do not confuse yourself with all the doubts that myriad decisions would induce. You make but one. And when that one is made, you will perceive it was no choice at all. For truth is true, and nothing else is real. There is no opposite to choose instead. There is no contradiction to the truth. Do I want to read a little more? Yeah, let's read a little more. Choosing depends on learning, but the truth cannot be learned, but only recognized. In recognition its acceptance lies, and as it is accepted, it is known. But knowledge is beyond the goals we seek to reach within the framework of this course. Knowledge is beyond the goal. Knowledge you just know. That's what the word know and knowledge go together. Well, we're learning. We're learning how to be in alignment with truth so that knowledge can just flow into us unencumbered. Ours are teaching goals to be attained through learning how to teach them, what they are, and what they offer you. Decisions are the outcome of your learning, for they rest on what you have accepted as the truth of what you are and what your needs must be. In this insanely complicated world, heaven appears to take the form of choice rather than merely being what it is. Of all the choices you have tried to make, this is the simplest and most definitive, the prototype of all the rest, the one which settles all decisions. If you could decide the rest, this one remains unsolved. But when you solve this one, the others are resolved with it. For all decisions but conceal this one by taking different forms. Here is the final and the only choice in which is truth accepted or denied. Now, heaven is chosen consciously. The choice cannot be made until alternatives are accurately seen and understood. All that is veiled in shadows must be raised to understanding, to be judged again, this time with heaven's help. And all mistakes in judgment which the mind had made before are open to correction, as the truth dismisses them as causeless. Now are they without effects. They cannot be concealed because their nothingness is recognized. The conscious choice of heaven is as sure as is the ending of the fear of hell, when it is raised from its protective shield of unawareness and is brought to light. Who can decide between the clearly seen and the unrecognized? Yet who can fail to make a choice between alternatives when only one is seen as valuable, the other as a wholly worthless thing, a but imagined source of guilt and pain? Who hesitates to make a choice like this? And shall we hesitate to choose today? We make the choice for heaven. We recognize we make a conscious choice between what has existence and what has nothing but an appearance of the truth. Heaven is the decision I must make. I make it now and will not change my mind, because it is the only thing I want. So what we want to do on this lesson today, my mind holds only what I think with God. We want to start grabbing onto that idea that when I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. and that heaven is the decision I must make. Maybe some of those ideas that I just mentioned in this short review will help you to kind of make it more real today as you practice. But do take a moment, remember to take a moment to say, my mind holds only what I think with God. And let yourself settle into that for a moment. And that this is on the hour practice. And then from that state of realization, know that one of the things that God thinks is that when you're healed, you're not healed alone. And heaven's a decision you must make. And you want to make it now. All right? So until tomorrow, my mind holds only what I think with God. When I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. Heaven is the decision I must make.